my name is Rhonda and I'm also known as the sparkly one. Look how pretty the lacy border is. I just love it so much. It was really fun to crochet. So I think that you really will enjoy this tutorial. There's a separate video for this hat which matches this shawl. I used 2 skeins of the Mandala yarn. With 2 skeins I made a hat and a shawl. Isn't that pretty? So I'm calling it my prayer shawl for my friend Debbie who has cancer for the 4th time. So I've prayed a lot over this shawl for her. So I just hope that she feels God's love and grace and mercy. And I think that this is a wonderful reminder of how much you love your friends and your family. Whoever is going to be getting this is going to feel very blessed. For this hat I did it's called a cable crochet. And I added a little frilly pom-pom right here. It's just a very loose, it's not very fluffy, but I didn't want a big old pom-pom on there. I thought the more casual pom-pom was a great addition to this hat. I'll be right back with the instructions. For this shawl, I'll be using this beautiful Lion brand yarn. It's the Mandala yarn, and it's the self-striping yarn. It's in the color Unicorn. You see that right there? Number 201. And it actually has a lot of yarn in there, so I can do the whole shawl in one skein. But if I want to do a trim, I have to use another ball of yarn. So grab your yarn and look how pretty that is. So I am so excited about this yarn. I just love it so much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to start it. This is such a repetitive stitch that you won't have any problem watching TV doing this at all. But in your spare time, when you're sitting around, you can start crocheting. But the thing is, you always want to make sure to check your work, because there's been times where I haven't really paid much attention. I actually skipped a stitch or 2. So you always want to make sure that you check your work. So to start this, what you'll do is you'll chain 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And you're going to go into the 3rd chain from the hook, and you're going to treble crochet. So you're going to wrap your yarn over twice, put it into that stitch. So that counts as 2 treble crochets. You're always going to want 4 treble crochets in your little stitch area. And then you go into the final one right here. And it starts like that. Then just for this very first row, it's going to be the point of your work. Let me see if I can find the point. Oh, here it is. So this is the beginning of your shawl. So this is what it looks like. So this first stitch is what we're making now. We're going to make number 2 and number 3, and then we're just going to start working across. So it's very, very repetitive, but so pretty. So here's the first one, which you did, the chain 7. Then you're going to chain 7 again. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yarn over twice, and you're going to go into that 3rd chain from the base. So actually it's 7 chains, and you can count backwards if you want to go this way. It's the 5th chain from the hook or the 3rd chain from the base. So I just go back into there, treble crochet, yarn over twice, go into that one right there, treble crochet, and then you're going to have this stitch right there. You're going to go into that to make your last treble crochet. Then you flip this little piece up like that. So one is going to go across this way and the other one's going to go horizontal. So you have, well, vertical and horizontal. Then you're going to go into this space right here, and you're just going to do a slip stitch to join them. So right now you have 2. Then what you'll do is you're going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. You're going to treble crochet 3 more of those stitches into that same space. So that's 2, 3, 4 total. So that chain 4 counts as the treble, the first treble, and it always will. So you have this little V shape which starts the point on your shawl. And every time you come to the end of a row like this, you're always going to chain 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then you're going to work backwards again. So you're going to treble crochet into the 3rd chain from this space. So that's 1, 2, 3. That's the 3rd one. Or you can go 5 chains from the hook. Works out the same. So you're going to do a treble. So you have 2. Go into that next chain. That's 3. Treble again, and that's going to be 4 into that space right there. Then what you're going to do, you're going to flip that up so you have it like this, and you just twist that little piece and it's going to connect right there. And you just slip stitch into this space right there. Slip stitch. And this is starting your next row. And you're going to chain 4. And you're going to do 3 more trebles into this space. 1, 2, 3. Remember that first chain 4 counts right there. That counts as your first treble crochet. Then you're going to join right here at the top of that row with a slip stitch. You're going to chain 4 again. You're going to treble crochet into that space 3 more times. Just like that. This is what it should look like. You'll chain 7, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And in that 5th chain from the hook, or the 3rd one up, you will treble crochet. Treble crochet again into that stitch right there, that 2nd one from the next treble crochet, and then your last one right there. Treble crochet. So now you have 4 treble crochets there. Just flip that little piece up just like that. And then you're just going to connect it in that space right there at the top with a slip stitch. Then you're just going to keep repeating this pattern, and you'll continue at the end. You'll do chain 7 and you'll work back into that space, and just keep going back and forth across. And as you can see, this is row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4, row 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You'll do 37 rows, or as long as you want. So I actually made 51 rows because mine needed to be a little bit bigger. Here's what I've done so far. I still have 1 row left to crochet, but look how pretty all those colors are. Aren't they beautiful? Look at that. Goes from the gray to the purple to the pink to the white to the grayish blue. It's just gorgeous. And here is the edge at the top. Let's see if I can find my end so I can continue one more row. This is the end of my 50th row, and I need to have 51, so I'm chaining 4, continuing. And I'm actually using this as a prayer shawl, and one of my friends who I talked about at the beginning, her name is Debbie, and she's had cancer 4 times. And so I have been praying for her throughout this crochet project. And actually I prayed for a lot of other friends of mine who've gone through cancer or are going through cancer. And I just really feel that this shawl will wrap my friend Debbie in the love of God and keep her protected. And she is such a survivor, and she recently became a Christian, so I am so happy that she knows the Lord after all she's been through. She's been battling cancer basically her whole life. She was a teenager when she had bone cancer, and my son also had bone cancer, so she and I can relate, but I can't relate as a patient, but I can relate as a mother. So I just want her to have this and feel like she is loved by God more than anything in the whole world, and that she should not worry about anything, but just get better. Make as many rows as you want. When I add the lace border, I haven't done it yet, that'll be my next thing, it's going to go on the straight edges and not on the scallop edge at the top. So we're going to work down the side of the shawl, not the top where the scallops are. To add the lace border, what you'll do is when you've come to your last row and you're all finished with all the rows that you need, you're going to chain 6. And then you're going to double crochet into this space right there. Keep that turned. You're going to chain 3. And you're going to double crochet into the next open space right there. Chain 3. You're going to keep repeating that into all the open spaces. Double crochet, chain 3. So you'll just continue that until you get to the point, and then I'll show you the next step. So that's what it should be looking like. When you get to the point of the shawl, all you do is double crochet into the center of that chain that's on the stitch right there, and double crochet. You're going to chain 6 because you're at the point. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then you're going to double crochet back into that same hole because you're making a point right there still. Then you're going to chain 3. You'll double crochet into the next space. Chain 3. Find your space, double crochet. And that's what it looks like, the point. Just wanted to show you I made a mistake. I forgot to chain 3 in between, so keep checking your work because I do that all the time. I get a little distracted, I forget to count or whatever, And so just make sure that you do it before it gets too late, because if you go rows and rows and then you figure out that you need it to take it out, oh, it's such a heartbreaking thing. But don't forget to chain 3 in between. So I ran out of yarn, and I just wanted to show you because I have to join the yarn with another skein of yarn. So one skein got me this far, but if you're going to do the lace, you're going to need the extra skein. So if you're not going to do the lace, then you don't have to worry about it. One skein should work and should be plenty. So what I did is I took the second skein that I had and I took out all of the lighter color that I had. And this is actually white inside this ball. And so I took it out and I cut it off. I took out the white center and then I cut it off. And I wanted it to match what I have currently. So I don't want to change in the middle of the lace to have a different color. So I'm just going to continue that with all of this. So it will most likely be just the bluish gray colors. So I'm not going to have any pink on the border or anything. It's just going to be all of that bluish gray color. So I'm going to continue this. I'm going to show you how to change yarn in the middle of this part. To change yarn in a situation like this where it's a lot of chains going on, you're just going to double crochet like you normally would, but you don't pull through the last stitch. So I only have a short tail on this, so I'm going to add a new tail. And the last stitch that you pull through is going to be the color change or the yarn change. So again, I'm going to take the 2 strands that I have and I'm just going to hold those down. And I'm not going to yarn over those at this point because I do need to weave those in back into this chain right here because they are the same color. You're just going to have to weave them in here and down this double crochet. It's not going to be that great, but you're not going to notice it because you're going to have another row over this row. So just continue, put those behind, and then go ahead and finish as you normally would. So you have the double crochet in that space, chain 3, and I'm almost to the end, so I just want to show you because we have to turn our work at the end. Get all these tails out of my way. Double crochet, chain 3, and then you're coming to that very last space, so you're going to go into that space. Whoops, you got a double crochet into that space, and that's what it looks like. You're going to chain 1 and then you turn your work and you single crochet into that same space just like that. Chain 5, single crochet into all of the double crochets, then you chain 5, single crochet into the next double crochet, chain 5. When you get to this point, what you're going to have to do is chain 9. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And then crochet into the next double crochet. You do a single crochet, chain 5. So again, on that previous row, you're doing chain 6 and then chain 9 here, and we'll continue around up the other side with your chain 5, single crochet chain bind. So this is what it's starting to make, these pretty little scallops. So just continue all the way around until you get to the end. Now I'm coming to the end, so I'm going to do the last stitch, which is the single crochet, chain 4, and then I'm going to do a double crochet into this stitch right here. So that's where it changes a little bit, because it's still going to be 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the other side matches that. So let me show you. This is the first side that we did, and this is the second side. So let me show you that. So this is what they should look like. See, so you need to do a double crochet right here. So chain 4 on the last one and double crochet, and then they'll match. So we're going to move on to the next row. So after you finish that second row right here, you're going to chain 2, single crochet in the space, chain 2, and then you're going to go into this next space right here, and you'll be treble crocheting and doing a picot, which is chain 4 and chain 4, slip stitch into the top of this area right here. You're not going to go into any of these chains to make the picot. You're going to go into this area right here at the top of that treble crochet, and you're just going to make a slip stitch. The reason I like doing that is because it secures it a little bit more and it makes it look better. If you were to slip stitch into the bottom of the chain, it looks a little too flimsy for me. So that's how I'm going to do it, but you're always going to chain 1 in between the trebles. So again, you're going to do a treble crochet, whoops, chain 4, and you're going to picot. So you're going to go into this chain right here. Well, it's actually not a chain, I'm sorry. You're going to go in the top of the treble crochet. So do you see that? So there's the chain 4. Then you're just going to turn it sideways and go in right there with those 2 strands on top. And then you just slip stitch to secure it. So it makes these little picots, which are so pretty. And they almost look like a little bauble in a way, but I think they're so cute. And after that, you're going to chain 1, and then you're going to do that again. So you're going to have 5 treble crochets with the picot in this space right here. Again, you're going to slip stitch into the top of that, if I can get it, that treble crochet to secure it. Chain 1. Again, treble crochet, one, 2, 3, 4 chains, slip stitch into the top of that treble. Now we have 4, one more, which makes 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, slip stitch into the top of that treble, and here you're going to chain 2 after the last, after the 5th one. You're going to, that's what it should look like at the beginning of your row. So again, you had chain 2 here, single crochet, chain 2, then you did a treble crochet with the picot, chain 1, treble crochet with the picot, chain 1, the same thing 5 times. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then you chain 2 after the 5th one, Oops, got my hook in backwards. Then you go to this next open space right here. You're gonna single crochet into that and chain 2. Then you're gonna start all over again with the 5 trebles and the picots. So here you go, 1, 2, 3, 4. Slip stitch into the top of that treble. Secure it, chain 1. So keep going with your 5 treble crochets in that same pattern, okay? So you're always, after the 5, remember, you're gonna chain 2, single crochet in the next one, chain 2, and then start this over, okay? So just every other loop will have a set of 5 in it. When you get to the point, then you're going to put 7 treble crochets and picots in there, okay? So all the other ones have 5, and then this one at the point is going to have 7. Then you're going to work up the other side with the same thing that you did on the other side. So every other one of these is going to have 5. There's going to be 7 in that corner at the point. Here is the point in the shawl where you're going to add 7 treble crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then you're going to turn the corner, you'll chain 2, and you'll go into this space here, which is a single crochet. Then you'll chain 2, and then you'll start all over with your treble crochets and your picots all up the side. So when you're finished with that, I'm going to show you how to fasten off. And this is the other way that I ended this. So here is the point of the V. The way mine worked out, I wasn't able to do the scallop in that stitch right here. So what I did is I just did my normal pattern, and I think that looks fine. It's not going to be a big deal at all. Normally you would have a point, one of these scallops would be in this stitch right here, but I think it looks fine. So whatever way it turns out on your shawl will look just beautiful. So don't really worry too much about that. Nobody's even going to notice. And if you prefer, you can do a scallop in that one as well. So you would just do your chain 2, your single crochet, and then do all your trebles in here. It would make it a little bit more crowded, but I think you could still do it. So anyway, that was just an alternate way to do that if yours didn't work out. This space normally would have 7 treble crochets in it, and mine, I couldn't do it because the way I counted, it didn't work out right. And so you just go with the flow when you have an issue like that. And I think it looks perfectly fine. So maybe yours turned out like that, or maybe you were able to get the 7 treble crochets in there, and that would be fine too. So I've done all of my scallops, and this is my very last stitch. So depending on how many rows that you've done, you can alter the pattern a little bit, because you might not have this end in this stitch. You might have one of these slip stitches or one of those single crochets in this last stitch, depending on how many rows you've done. So just be free to do whatever you think is going to look right, because it's going to work out different for each one of us depending on how many rows that we have. So what I did in this row is I did my last set of scallops in there, my last set of treble crochets, and then just to end this particular one, I'm going to chain 2, and then I'm going to slip stitch into the top of this chain right there, that very first chain. Make sure that you have 2 strands on top of your hook, because you don't want a big hole right there. So I did the 2 strands on top, and then right there I'm going to fasten off that end. So see, it looks pretty, it blends really nicely. So as you can see, I'm going to weave that end in. But this is what they look like. So this is the scallop edge on one side, and this is the other. Of course, they will be facing each other at one point, and you won't even know that they're not exactly the same. So it looks really pretty. I'm very happy with it. Hopefully you can end it the way you like. One thing I do want to say is that if you are finished with your project, just make sure that you go back over all of the edges and look it over really well and see if you skipped anything, or if you added too many, or if you have any mistakes, because now is the time to fix it. It will bug you later when you can't fix it after it's all done. But just make sure you have 5 treble crochets in each space, you know, every other space, and that it looks the way you want it to look without any mistakes. I know throughout this pattern I've had some mistakes. Sometimes I skipped a stitch right here and I went into, you know, like I skipped a stitch and I just had this big old space here, or in these little scallops I did the same thing. I've had to tear it out a few times, but that's the part that we don't like about crocheting, but it is a real part about crocheting. So we make mistakes, just make sure you fix them. And you're just going to weave in your ends and enjoy your shawl. I am giving this as a gift, like I said, so I know that she's going to love it and she's going to feel so wonderful and so cozy as she's going through her chemo treatments. So thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate it. I have a hat that I'm wearing that I finished with the rest of the yarn that was left over. Anyway, I hope you like it. I hope you subscribe. I hope you share this video. Let me know if you did this pattern. I would love it. Maybe you can send me some pictures on my email, which is sparkly160@gmail.com. I would love to see the scarves that everyone makes. It would be so fun. I can put them into a video. I would love to share that with my YouTube audience.